Today I'm going to share with you the world's 10 worst passports, and some of them may surprise you. We recently published our 6th annual Nomad Passport Index, where we rank the passports of the world on a number of different factors, not just where you can travel, but how much freedom you have, what the tax situation is as an expat, lots of different things. And I wanted to share with you the 10 worst passports. We've talked about the best ones already, but what are the 10 worst passports? And I think this is important because I want you to see just the difference between what the absolute worst passports are and the kind of passports that you could get as your second passport. I think a lot of people think that Mexico or El Salvador or Nicaragua or some of those countries must have the worst passports, when in reality, those passports rank relatively high on the list. So let's get into the top 10 worst passports for 2022. If it's your first time here, my name is Andrew Henderson. I'm the founder of Nomad Capitalist. We're a boutique consulting firm that helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally reduce their taxes, diversify and protect their assets, get second passports to increase their freedom, and we're also the hosts of the biggest and best offshore conference called Nomad Capitalist Live, open to absolutely everybody. So one of the things that of course you'll see with the 10 worst passports, because Afghanistan ranks 199 out of 199. So one of the things you'll see with these passports is they can't travel many places. You can go to a few places in the region. You can get an e-visa to India. I'm sure they've got a decent rejection rate. There's a few countries you can go, like Bolivia, where I don't even know how you would get to Bolivia without actually needing to get some visa to fly through. So there's kind of countries where it's like, hey, if you can get here, wink, wink. So basically, if you are an Afghanistan citizen, I guess maybe you could get a flight to Bangladesh or Cambodia or Macau. I can tell you, having been to Macau with an Egyptian citizen, that they're going to ask you a lot of questions if you are from a country like that. And so basically, I mean, your travel freedom is basically zero. It's 26 countries, but that includes ones that are like visa on arrival or e-visa that you may not get, that are impossible to get to without other visas. So essentially, you are grounded. Obviously, the perception of these passports is also not as good. Afghanistan currently being in a very unfortunate situation. Dual citizenship is limited as well, and obviously personal freedom is very restrictive, not only inside the country, but if you're to leave, you're not really going to get much in the way of services, even if you could get out. Number 2 worst passport, ranked at 198 in the world, was that of Iraq. Same kind of situation. Not many places where you can travel. There are a few countries in the world, such as Ecuador, that are open to pretty much everybody. And some of these worst passports can't even go there. So another one's Malaysia, where Iraqis can go. You do have an Iraqi population there. But 28 countries. There is some dual citizenship that I know, but you have a perception issue. I've been at the bank in various countries in Eastern Europe, and you'll have Iraqis, like in Georgia, for example. And they will get a hard time because everyone just doesn't trust the passport. And so there are some passports you wouldn't take. This is one of them. Very difficult passport to have, unfortunately. The third worst passport on the list this year is that of Yemen. You get a few more countries if you are Yemeni. You can go to 33 countries in the world, but they are 197 out of 199. And so you can go to Malaysia. A lot of Yemenis in Malaysia, actually. You can go to Sudan. You can go to Ecuador. That's pretty much the only places that you can go that's not e-visa or visa on arrival. And so you certainly can't go to any of your neighbors. I guess you could go across the way to Somalia. They've got an e-visa, so there's really not a lot of countries you can go to. I know a Yemeni in Colombia who kind of told me the story and was very eager to get a Colombian passport. So there's always a way to get a better passport no matter what your situation is. But you've got bad perception, bad dual citizenship. I think she told me the story that, yeah, she was going to have to renounce Yemeni, which she was more than happy to do, to become Colombian. But those are the 3 worst passports. Now we start getting into Pakistan. So I know plenty of Pakistanis who do travel. I think you probably have an easier opportunity. They're still pretty strict on visas, but I do know Pakistanis who travel all around the world. 31 countries visa-free. Dual citizenship is somewhat available. Obviously, the perception is a challenge, and I told you that we advised someone who had a claim to Pakistani citizenship by descent. It's probably not really going to add anything to the equation. Theoretically, if you're a citizen of a Commonwealth country, including a Caribbean citizenship by investment country, you can go and obtain Pakistani citizenship through kind of a modified investment route for about $28,000, and I don't really think there should be any takers for that. But certainly a very large country with a lot of folks and that's the fourth worst passport. Eritrea, the only other country besides the United States that imposes a total citizenship-based taxation regime, but not even at full rates, at a much lower single-digit rate. Eritrea in Eastern Africa, 43 countries visa-free, but it's kind of the policies, the authoritarianism, the citizenship-based taxation, the perception, the lack of dual citizenship that sinks them, even though they've got a robust 43 countries. That's almost 20 more than Afghanistan. Basically the dictatorship of Eastern Africa. Followed by the next worst passport. They're tied for 194, North Korea. If you can, obviously, say that you can go to 39 countries with some kind of visa facility is not entirely true, obviously. Obviously, everything that's across the board is bad for North Korea. Somalia, tax policy is okay, but 34 countries you can go to, obviously perception is terrible. Libya, same situation, 40 countries. Syria, same perception issues, obviously. Sanctions, 29 countries that you can visit around the world. And then Sudan coming in at 41 countries, and again, all across the board, just really bad reputation on all of those. So you add that up, and that gives you the 10 worst passports in the world. And so Palestinian territory, Nepal, Myanmar, Iran, those all kind of come in. The only passport that's anywhere close to the bottom that maybe somebody could qualify for through some kind of ethnicity or, I don't know, you started a business there for the low tax rates or something, is Kosovo, right? Most of these passports you're just not going to get. You're not going to get a Turkmenistan passport. You're probably not going to get a Cameroon passport or Laos. I mean, these are largely closed countries. And so why do I tell you this? I tell you this because even if you look at a passport that doesn't have great visa-free travel, like a Vietnam, they still have access within a certain region where they can go around the ASEAN region. And okay, I've seen a couple people who are Vietnamese and theoretically could have claimed Vietnamese citizenship by descent if they really wanted it. Egypt. I know Egyptians, yeah, there's a lot of places they can't travel. They have somewhat of a hard time, but you know what? They still get residence permits in Europe, and they all get all kinds of other stuff. And so if we could just keep going up the list, the kind of passports that you're going to be interested in are well above the worst passports in the world. You say, okay, well, that's obvious. But I think a lot of people who are looking at second citizenship think, I've got a U.S. passport, I've got a British passport, I've got an Australian passport. Okay, the U.S. passport was number 41 on the list. That's certainly not 199, but it's also not number one. If you look at other countries, for example, St. Lucia, 63rd best passport in the world. Mexico, 54th best passport in the world. We've helped people get Croatian citizenship by descent. That's basically where the U.S. is, 42nd. Bulgarian, tied for 42nd. Malaysia's passport, for example, beat the U.S. So we can just go through all the list, but the worst passports, the one like I don't want one of those worst passports. Sure, 80% give or take of passports in the world are not as powerful as that of the United States. But if you're looking for a second citizenship, you're not going to be getting anywhere near the bottom of these passports. So you don't have to worry that you're getting some passport that's going to give you a terrible reputation, or that's going to get you in trouble, or that's going to reduce your freedom. The second citizenships that you're looking at, whether it's citizenship by investment, citizenship by descent, naturalization by moving somewhere, are nowhere near the bottom. In fact, they're almost entirely in the top half, the top quarter even. And so understand the great difference between a Western passport and some of the worst. Even in this bottom kind of third, you're not going to get any of these. You're going to be getting the ones that, while they're not quite as good as what you have, it's still going to be pretty powerful on a global scale. There's lots of folks who have passports from Senegal, number 157, or Jordan, number 157 tied, that would love to have St. Lucia. You're not going to see nearly as much of a decline. And so if you're pairing St. Lucian passport, for example, with your existing American or British or Australian citizenship, you're going to see more opportunities for personal freedom. You can have more opportunities to relocate and potentially reduce your taxes. You can have more places that you can live. It's going to supplement what you already have. And you shouldn't think of that as, oh, it's a bad passport. The passports you're looking at are generally pretty good. Nowhere near these 10 worst passports of 2022.